let's take it. Oh, paradigm shifters. It's Transformation Tuesday again. Yeah, we keep coming back. We've been doing this Transformation Tuesday since March of 2020. Every Tuesday. So we're getting a little bit better with the buttons behind the scenes. So, who are we as paradigm shifters? Let's take a deep breath into whatever that word means. So, we are a growing global community dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. And all of our guest speakers are coming in, and we are light beings and shifters. Not perfectly by any means. Well, some of us. I mean, nobody's perfect at any given time. So we are in January 2024, and our topic is opening doors in 2024. So take a minute here and bring to mind something that maybe has been closed off to you that you would love to possibly, in this next little bit of time, consider opening a door to more life, more freer, more fuller. Perhaps it's been shut for really a long time. And 2024 just might be the year that you maybe crack it open. Yeah. So my name's Judy Matejcik. I'm the founder and creator of Paradigm Shifters. And I want to start off this particular Tuesday in January with a reading before I introduce Holly. And this is a reading for one of my books. It's all tattered, and the book is called Hope for Today. And it's a reading that when I was in meditation, somebody brought this to my meditation group, and I thought, this is perfect to read to everyone. So take a deep breath in, open your ears and your heart, and perhaps this speaks to you today. Sometimes I struggle with the effects of having just grown up, and the path seems so difficult to travel. I forget that there's ups and downs to any journey, and I feel overcome with disappointment with my seemingly slow progress. Then my higher power, my God, reminds me of a history lesson I once learned, and I regain hope. An expedition of the Grand Canyon traveled along the Colorado River. Halfway through the canyon, the explorers encountered dangerous rapids. Some of the explorers were killed as the thrashing waters hurled them about. The others managed to get ashore, where they gathered their wits to assess the situation. Although the riverhead looked choppy and menacing, some of the crew decided to forge ahead. They felt they had traveled too far to turn back. The others decided to return home on foot. The explorers who went ahead faced dangerous waters for a short period, but the remainder of their journey was safe, calm, and beautiful. Those who turned back actually faced greater dangers, and they did not survive. This story reminds me how valuable it is to persistently move forward. Persistently move forward. Yeah. When the road ahead looks threatening and I want to turn back to my old attitudes and behaviors, I remember that I'm not alone on my path. I have the wisdom of a power greater than myself and the experience, strength, and hope of my fellow travelers. I just thought that was so beautiful. So I want to introduce to you one of my fellow sister. Sorry about that, Holly. My sister travelers on this road, this journey. And I'm so thrilled to really have gotten to know Holly Menard. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. Holly has had this successful careers as a registered nurse, an oncology massage therapist, Reiki practitioners, and I love this about you, Holly. You're currently and professionally trained End of Life Doula. I didn't even know what that was until I met you. You know, the devastating, unexpected loss of her oldest son ignited within Holly a burning desire to discover joy, purpose, and meaning in her life. Holly decided to deepen her spiritual experience and to develop a practice of consciously living in the present moment. So, as a result, she was led to working with transformational coaches and mentors and ultimately became a life mastery consultant. So, Holly's passion is empowering women who are struggling, feeling stuck after a devastating loss, to come alive, find meaning and purpose in their lives. Holly believes in people, that each one of us is far more powerful and contains more potential than any circumstance, situation, or condition. And Holly's got quite a vision to teach and coach thousands as they live the life they love. So, Holly, come on in here
Apple Hill, North Carolina.
yeah, come on in here. I didn't give it over
Tar
to
Heels.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey and why you would even want to continue this journey. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Well, I love that we're talking about opening doors in 2024 because as I'm beginning this year, I remember from whence I came. And especially as I was preparing, I realized that there was a point in time in my life when I was being run by my paradigms. That's the fact. Okay, I would wake up in the morning and it would be like, oh, can I sleep a little longer? I just didn't have that much of a sense of purpose or meaning in my life. I kind of thought I did, but when it really came down to it, I didn't. And so I was basically going through the motions. We call it living by default, just kind of letting life happen, being on the sidelines. I was real good at that, living small until a devastating life event occurred. And that is my son was tragically injured in a car accident while he was running across the road. And well, I was brought to my knees. I knew my life was never, ever, ever going to be the same again. And what was I going to make of it? Besides, being, in a downward spiral, you would have to say. I was trying to find that meaning. And yeah, again, going through the motions at a whole nother level. And then in time, I realized, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deepen my spiritual life experience. And so I did. And I started opening up to a big question. It was like, okay, my son, Jonathan, age 34, he's not here. And I am. So what is it? Why is it important for me to be here? What am I doing with my life? And I arrived at a point where it simply wasn't okay for me to keep going on in my life the way that I had been. And it took a trip to India to come to the realization that there was such a thing in this life as conscious entrepreneurs. And I was self-employed to a large extent. I mean, also working in family businesses. Then on this trip, I was listening to these folks these beautiful people, yogis, who were living their life consciously and doing a work that they absolutely love. So I was focusing on this, not what it was I had been doing up until then. Okay, so I was already facing those paradigms and saying, no, I'm not interested before I really realized what I was doing. And I came back and found out that there was such a thing as end of life doulas, which was amazing. I had never heard of it. Birth doulas, yes. Not end of life doulas, though, or death doulas. So I found myself a niche, really, in 2020 of working with people who were coming to the end of their life, and family members, friends, and it included human beings and four-pawed beings, all of that. We were really all in the midst of a lot of grief and grieving and sadness. And I enjoyed isn't actually the word. I knew that it was my calling, and there was a sense of satisfaction and contentment. And as time went on, I realized, wow, you know what? I really wanted to reach more people. I wanted a wider audience. And I realized also that just like me, I'm alive. And there's a whole lot of people who aren't anymore. So why is it so important for us to be alive? And I wanted to reach people at any stage in their life, along the life continuum, right? Birthday, end date. And then what's going on in the middle here? Are you content? Are you satisfied with the life that you're living? Those are the kinds of questions that I was asking. And out of the blue comes this opportunity for me to start, it's called Brave Thinking Mastery, through the Brave Thinking Institute, which was founded by Mary Morrissey. And she became my mentor, my coach, um, always believing. And I knew, even though I was facing a camera with tons of people during this time, that she was looking right in my, she was looking right at me. And it was pretty amazing.
Well,
So
I want to go back and talk about that period in your time. Thanks for being open about your story, by the way. And what I found is like that, you know, the story is so important, but I want to know that period of time where you made a decision that you were alive.
right.
And there's plenty of people that I know who are alive, breathing, and not really alive.
Mhm.
Myself, many times as well. So,
Mhm.
what was that like? Where there was that that moment in time, and the feelings you were feeling, and the decision there, that decision point. You said something about India, but what even made you want to even go to India?
Curiosity. I never been there. It was a yoga summit, and my friend convinced me to go. I didn't know what I was up. I didn't know what was going to be happening for that time, but it clearly transformed my life and set me in the direction that has brought me to today. What I started realizing, though, is that I matter, and that because I matter, that means that I must have a gift. Then there is, about me, gifts for me to contribute to the world. And that must be the reason I'm still here. So I wanted to find out, discover what are those gifts. And the truth of it is that there was, back in the day, I really wanted to be I wanted to be first a social worker, And then when I found out there were life coaches,
Mhm.
I wanted to be a life coach. And I put the paradigm back burner, just like I did with a lot of things in my life.
So can you walk me through a day? Like I've got so curious about um, the um, I you've talked about walking with people through the woods and in nature. Can
Yeah.
you walk us through like a session where you are in that and what that's like and what the other person is feeling as they walk through nature with you at that end of life doula phase? I find that
Mhm.
fascinating.
And yes, part of my waking up to this is how I'm alive too. I start beginning to love myself and that how much it is that I matter and how important it was for me to find things that bring me joy and happiness. And I started working with this client who has a diagnosis of dementia. He's like a year younger than I am. So yeah, sobering. And the opportunity that we've had is to go out into the woods and finding out that this person really loved to listen to the sound of the water. And we went on this path not far from where it is that I live. And there were these little plaques every so many, whatever, on the hike. And this one it was right looking over a stream. And it said, you can hear, if you get really quiet, you can hear the voice of the stream. And I was like, isn't this cool? And we would talk, and I said, there's a voice to the stream. And it awakened in me. And it was also something that this person just lit up as we would just stand there and sometimes find a rock to sit on to contemplate that sound. And then we would move on again. And I realized, this is important. This is important work to be in nature, because sometimes we can't really fall in love with ourselves so much, but we sure can fall in love with the natural world because it's amazing. It's miraculous. And it's us, it's totally us. We have in nature, we have birth, we have the prime of life, in the spring and the summer, and then the fall when the leaves start to turn brown and no more bright flowers, right? And then there's a death of sorts. I mean, there really is a death. And the leaves are going back into the earth and composting and becoming the next nourishment that comes up. The acorns are creating little baby oak trees. It's amazing. It's amazing. And yeah, my client, he loves it. And we were out just yesterday
Really?
and yeah, in the midst of winter and stopping and, just really like, let's get really still and see if we can hear the sound, the voice of the stream. And you really did have to really listen in order to hear it. And to me, it's just so amazing. And I love that my client loves it too. And so it brings meaning to the moment is what it does. And then we almost always see people walking their dogs, and I love animals. This person loves animals and little people. Little people that are with their sounds, their happy sounds, and running around, and the parents, being wonderful parents to them. And
Well,
it's it's all there.
right. And asking that, well, what if, hmm, everybody listening, what if we took and scheduled in one part of our day where we wouldn't have to wait till the end of our life or whatever and
Absolutely.
go
Well,
in and
Judy,
start
you
to
go out
listen.
on your kayak. I mean, you love it. You're out in
Well,
the water.
that's where the peace is for me, where the
Yeah.
chatter, what I need, the to do. You know, when you were talking, it reminded me of my mother at
Mm,
the end of her life on this plane, and she would sit and watch the clouds. And this was like a kind of by Lake Erie, lots of clouds coming in over the lake, and she would sit there and watch the clouds. And I remember that everybody being so concerned that she just wasn't with it, and she's not watching the news, and she's just like with it. And I remember coming in, and it was like they wanted to bring her back into whatever it was, reality, whatever their reality, and where da 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 da. She was watching the clouds, and I would have like I whispered him like, "Hey, I get it, I
mm.
get it," and she says, "I love clouds,"
Yeah.
and that's all she said. It was in the silence,
Mm, mm,
um, and
mm.
you know, perhaps maybe this is just a perhaps. Anybody listening to this out here, this is like just a perhaps, maybe. Perhaps maybe that's where reality really is.
Wow.
And
When we make up, I mean, I really believe this. Y'all lean into this. We make it all up. We choose what has meaning. And it's all based on the past. It's all based on previous conditioning, right? From way back when. And we just drag it all along with us in our
so
life.
I have another question to you for you that's interesting with this opening doors in 2024. So, um, what would you say to someone who is has so many doors that they could choose to open, and they are afraid to open any of them for fear what's on the other side? What would you say to someone who is stuck that way?
There's a very powerful question, and it's called, what would you love? What would you love? Just imagine it. Make it up if you need to. What is it? There are four domains: health and well-being, right? Love and relationships, our vocation, our creative expression, and time and money freedom. What area is it that really speaks to you? What area, could you come up with something that has some electricity to it, that you could create some vivid pictures and as if you're already there? Because that's what we do. We bring our people, our clients, to a place where they begin to dream, create, imagine, fantasize, whatever, that life that they would love to live. And generally, there is one area that's going to call people more than another.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so
So
I
that's a
wanted to
tip.
take a deep breath in here and ask you, yeah, thank you for coming on and perhaps giving us a little bit of courage
Hmm.
to take any kind of step, whatever
Yeah.
it is. We're breathing, and
Well, you
what
know
is
what? Let me say that because Judy is all about let's stop and take a deep breath in and really get consciously aware of our breath. Because isn't it amazing that we're given a breath? It's what a gift. We can't make ourselves breathe. We can't make our heart beat either.
yeah, and,
So
and
some of
I
these things
honor
that
you
we think are
because
so impossible, what if they're not?
yeah, and I honor you as you're there with people who are perhaps getting ready for their last breath.
Mhm.
at any point on the timeline. So what I would want to ask you is like, thank you for opening up your our mind of possibilities. And what is it, Holly, that as a community of paradigm shifters, we ask this question is what would you love to have us hold for you and your 2024 or your next your next adventures? What would you
Mhm.
love?
What I would love for you to hold for me is that I am stepping up and I am speaking to a larger number of people, that I have a message. I have a message that only I can share, and that it's impactful. That hold that for me, that this message that I have to offer to the world. I would never have thought that. You know, I- I've gone beyond that paradigm, and I say no thanks when it comes up. I'm here to deliver that message, and I'm here knowing that the people that to work with are finding me, and I'm finding them.
Oh, and
Eventually,
something
it's
else.
thousands of people. You know,
And you are about ready to become a first time grandma.
I I am. We got the ultrasound yesterday. My son sent it to me, and it's like, what a miracle. What a miracle. This life, this little one that's taking shape inside my daughter-in-law's belly. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many wonderful things to smile about, and I think it makes it somehow easier to face the fact that there's going to be a time when we are going to put our head on the pillow for the last time, and I see that, and it's heartbreaking. It's very sad, and it's necessary to grieve.
There we go. Okay, we're going to put some energy around you, Nana, Grandma, as well as all your work in the world.
Mm.
Yes. And here it goes all the way to Chapel Hill. Got it?
Got it.
All right. Thank you so, so much for the courage to continue and explore. And we're, blessing you on your journey, Holly. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Amen.
Mm.
Oh,
Mm.